Welcome to the Edinburgh Fringe, where there are new faces and old friends round every corner. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. It's week 3 of the Fringe. Just a handful of days left if you're used to the Fringe, but still a Glastonbury in 2 more days if you're used to your regular music festivals. Isn't it a bit busy? Yes, as always, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Ewan, Spence here from Edinburgh. 12 months, the arts capital of the world. No, that's not right. It just feels like it's been 12 months. It does normal capital of the world duties for 12 months of the year, and just for one, it's very much definitely the arts capital of the world. But it kind of just sits there over the other 11 months of the year as well. Yes, I am taking this stumble and I am just going to run with the metaphor because the Fringe has such an impact, especially on individual careers. We talked yesterday about the impact of an award, but what about just having a really good run at the Fringe, getting bookings because they've seen you at the Fringe and taking that and letting it change your life? 10 years ago, a single-hander show turned up at the Fringe. It was Rebecca Perry, and the show was Confessions of a Redheaded Coffeeshop Girl. It started out as a what if coffee shop but David Attenborough, looking at the people and the spirits and this type of story that would just walk through. It's a hook that brought you in before the performance and the piece delightfully dragged you in further. Further, that included an interview on this podcast. 10 years later, Rebecca has returned to the Fringe with that same show, and 10 years later, Rebecca is back on this podcast. What is the impact of a critically acclaimed show at the Fringe on someone's career? Why bring a show back? And how much of a personal show can remain the same after a decade of growth and performance? Joining me now, someone who's been here before a long time ago, and it's time just to find out what's been happening since. Rebecca Perry once more, Confessions of a Redheaded Coffeeshop Girl once more.
Yep.
We've already done this, haven't we?
We have.
So let's just go back to the interview from 10 years ago and find out what we heard. No, I'm not. No, because you will sound brilliant, but oh my God, listening back to my earlier interviews, I've got slightly more mature. I don't know whether it's better, but slightly more mature. There have been lessons learned. That said, it's the same show that we talked about 10 years ago that you've brought back to the Fringe now. Why bring it back?
Yeah, so just to clarify, it is the same show, but it has definitely grown a lot in 10 years. Some of the jokes have changed, and the one big difference is, although it's still the same show, it is now apparently twice as funny because it's like a nostalgia piece. So people can laugh about using the iPhone too, about, when I crack a joke about Lady Gaga wearing that dress made of meat, like it's a funny throwback at this point. So it's been really cool to come back 10 years later and not only find new layers in the comedy that are just there because of like time, but also to have Gen Z give their hot take on what it was like for a millennial to graduate and sort of find their footing in the world, have their first, job that isn't in their career field, so to speak, and to sort of have Gen Z treat it like this roadmap or this example of like, how to find or not find your footing upon graduation.
Have you been constantly performing it, or have you had to basically come back to this after a long absence?
So actually, it has been performing for the last 10 years. I'd say at least one quarter of my year for the last 10 years has been this show going around the majority of the English speaking world on tours, a lot of which did very much start at the Edinburgh Fringe 10 years ago. But yeah, it's been like all around England, Scotland, all around America, all around Ireland. It's set to go to New Zealand and Australia. And thanks to this Edinburgh Fringe, even some English theaters in Hong Kong and Shanghai have entered the conversation. So it's very much been almost like a theater piece that when you hear Redheaded Coffeeshop Girl, you know you're talking about Rebecca Perry, because I've also been the person performing it for 10 years. So it's been neat to sort of step into the 21-year-old shoes of myself. And now 10 years later, it's a very strange out of body experience, but it's also very lovely because, the show has heart. It's a very fun thing for me to perform.
It's like me looking back a bit. Is there anything that you found like going, what was I thinking? Why did I make that decision?
Like cringe moments of my 20s. I mean, that's probably why the script has evolved because I think some jokes, I think my sense of humor is more sophisticated now. So some jokes were maybe in like their infant stages and we're still landing, but I found ways to make them more fun or to like lovingly poke fun at something. Whereas I think in my 20s, I was a bit sassy, maybe even mean. So now I think I found a better version of a joke per se.
Was the drop dead perfect joke in the show 10 years ago? Is it still in the show now?
It is. Yes, it is.
Everybody's going, am I going to ask or am I not going to ask? I think it's a spoiler. You will have to go to the show to find out on that one. I suppose that constant change means that you're not getting bored of the show or like stuck in a performance rut.
No, I think part of it is that like I'm now having, when I was performing it, millennials were like the youngest graduation generation or whatever. And so now it's kind of cool to see the next generation's take on what I'm talking about and what is still relevant to them, what has changed a little bit. And so I think because I keep finding new audiences, that's what's keeping it fresh for me. I really do every day when I go to perform the show at 4 p.m. at the Gilded Balloon Patter House.
Which we know as Adam House if you live in Edinburgh.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the translation. But I honestly don't know what age my audience is going to be. It could literally be from like age 9 to 99. Like I'm not even kidding. And so I think what keeps it fresh for me is how are me and this audience going to interact this time around? Because it's truly different every time.
Why bring it back to the Fringe? What was the process, business-wise, to go, let's do it again in Edinburgh?
Well, when you get a call from Karen Corrin being like, hey, get back here, you get back here.
Karen Corrin, who is the matriarch of the Gilded Balloon, shall we say?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great description. She very much nurtures comedy all throughout the UK, and my show has been no exception. I'm very grateful to the Gilded Balloon. And Katie, her daughter, is like very much following in her footsteps, and so they're like this power duo. But honestly, what was so cool was I didn't know until I arrived 10 years ago that it was like the 30th anniversary of Gilded Balloon. So there was a lot of buzz around, and I think that helped all the shows there. So it was very fitting that I now get to come back on the 40th anniversary and bring my sellout show and see how it fares. And of course, this time in like a venue 4 times the size, which I'm honored they have trusted me with. It's been pretty cool.
You've been at Edinburgh often enough to surely have the trepidation of knowing that you're going into a bigger room, which, yes, may have a bigger return, but also has bigger risk.
It does. You know what? I think I was still very daunted by the idea. The sort of logic was of all the venues they have, there's one sort of like proper looking theater, i.e., it's not like a converted classroom, because everything becomes a venue during the Fringe, and so it's got good acoustics. And since there's a lot of singing in my show, they sort of put me in the venue that is, I guess, traditionally known as not just a comedy venue, but like a musical theater leaning venue. So I was so glad to have like the cushy red velvet seats, the gorgeous theater, all the lighting cues I could possibly desire. But I was also definitely very daunted by the task of selling like literally four times as many tickets as I did last time. But good news, I think we've already sold out three shows, and I'm told that that is more than some very big celebrities that have smaller venues than me. So obviously my pounding the pavement and my happy-go-lucky attitude are serving me well because it's going very well for this non-celebrity.
Do you want to know a secret about that room?
Tell me.
It's actually designed to look exactly like the theatre in the original Muppet Show.
Are you serious?
If you go back get on stage, watch an old episode of the Muppet Show, you know when they do the pan back to the audience?
Yes.
Yeah. When you step out on the stage this evening,
oh my God,
go around and go, look. Da, 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 da.
That's amazing. I love that so much. Oh my God.
It might not be 100% accurate, but you could picture yourself being in the... Would you do this in the Muppet Show?
Oh my God, of course. And if they've done their level best to make it look like the Muppet Theater, that is amazing.
Which Muppet would you... Oh, there's a better question.
Tell me.
You're not allowed to perform it. Which Muppet do you get to perform it? Because that'll be the first time you'll have seen somebody else do it.
Yes.
Okay, name the Muppet.
So actually, I'm going to give you a complicated answer because I played 20 different characters in the show. I would actually pick different Muppets to play each of the characters because it's sort of like me as like David Attenborough or Jane Goodall naming all of these customers in my coffee shop jungle and what jungle animal they would be. So I would get like Animal to play my like grumpy, gruff boss. I would get Kermit to play the love interest. I would obviously have Joni, meet like the main character, probably played by Miss Piggy, because she has that sort of like joie de vivre that Joni, the title character, has. Oh my goodness, there's so many options for this. I would probably get Fozzie Bear to be the bus driver that I'm always trying to catch and give the coffee to. There's so many options. I think I might have to actually just make another show now. I appreciate the inspiration.
And see, now we've talked about the show without giving away any spoilers. Apart from then, there's nothing for Gonzo to do in there.
Well, Gonzo will have a part, I promise.
You know, it's almost more like a Muppet movie there with one human and the rest Muppets. He could probably get away with it, you know, because then you can get on stage with the Muppets and it's an amazing experience. I've done it once with Elmo. Doing when I was back at South by Southwest, the chance to interview Elmo, and that was, yeah, there are some highlights in this career when you look back and go, I'll relive that one.
Amazing.
So career-wise, I mean, I don't do this all year round. Fringe is only on during August, and I have other things to do. What about yourself? How much of your life is now taken up touring this? How much is taken up working in a coffee shop to pay the bills? What is around outside the coffee shop?
Sure, I'll give you the 360 picture. I have not worked in a coffee shop in a long time. Spoiler. I now mostly when I'm on stage, I'm in a coffee shop. I'd say about 1 or 2 years after I originally brought it to Edinburgh Fringe. The bills are now mostly paid with acting jobs. I do a lot of film and television in Canada, but still shows that I believe air over here, like The Handmaid's Tale, or I know at Christmas time, I think you guys still get all those like Hallmark movies that are like the romantic comedies. I've been in a few of those.
Oh God, you've got to name them because there's some great titles in there. What's your go-to Hallmark that you're in?
Okay, so my favorite one, just because I get to play this like quirky town seamstress that like saves the day, it's called Best Friend from Heaven, and it's about a dog that somehow like saves a wedding at Christmas time, and it's so ridiculous, but it like did really well. Like Chris Christopherson is the voice of the dog, if you can believe it. Like it's just crazy.
Did you get to meet him?
Yes, it did. Yeah, he's really Or
Elmo cameo, Chris Christopherson cameo. We're doing well in this interview so far. Karen Cohen keeping an eye on everything.
I also got to act alongside I believe quite a famous person, Simon Callow. I was in this kids movie that was still like funded by Hallmark and stuff like that, but it was called Forest Fairies, and so I was one of 3 fairies that were sort of helping this child, you know, like overcome, I guess, the loss of a parent. And so Simon Callow was the grandfather taking care of this girl. And he's like the nicest person I've ever met in my life. Like he's so sweet, so kind, and you can just tell he's like an actor's actor. Like he eats, lives, and breathes, always constantly improving his craft. And so as a person who's coming up in the acting industry, it's so inspiring and necessary to meet those people and to see how they've made this like delicious career of it all, you know?
And what about, so how does that balance out in terms of career skills? How much can you bring from theatre to the small and big screen? And how much translates back again?
You know what's crazy? A lot more than I think I was told did in theater school when they're trying to make sure you only ever stay on the stage. I actually think that so much of what I learned in theater school and what I learned on stage translates to film because you can tell when a stage actor has a role in film and TV because they can tap into things more quickly. They have more resources and more, I guess, tools, if you will, in their actor tool belt to, make something happen quickly or to change up a dynamic lickety split. Whereas I find a lot of film and TV actors that sort of started there but never really had much experience on stage, I'm not going to say there's a rigidity to their craft, but like it takes the director a few more takes to get them to mix things up, if you will. So I think directors appreciate having stage actors on film and TV sets because they ultimately bring this sort of like improv atmosphere. Like we're down for anything, we're ready to mix it up because on stage that happens so often because every night is different, right?
And every interview is different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, I shared my notes before we started this interview and it was a blank page because never in the world would I have written down doesn't like Gonzo. Bang.
Oh, Gonzo, I promise there's space for you, buddy.
Yeah, if you're not in the top three, yeah, nothing. Specifically, Coffee Shop this year. Mm-hmm. What will you take from that to go back to TV and film then?
I think honestly that we are all ultimately young at heart. And so bringing that into characters that I play this year, I think that's what I love about being in this city specifically. Like I'm like walking up Arthur's seat, huffing and puffing, and someone who is like 2 to 3 times my age is just zooming by me. And I think I just love people in Edinburgh, they know how to live. They also know how to take care of themselves, but they still know how to have a good time. And I think sometimes in Canada we take ourselves a little too seriously, and so I think just having an open heart is what I'm going to take back.
Is there anything that's happened this year, just in the Fringe in general, that you didn't expect?
I mean, to be honest, I've met some like idols and like heroes of mine that I just didn't even know would be here. And they actually were game for a conversation. I think that's my other favorite thing about the Ed Fringe. It's sort of this equalizer because everybody is doing a show, whether they're mega famous or whether this is, their first Fringe ever. And so I think the people that have a bit more experience are just a little bit more generous with their time. So two people come to mind. I had the absolute pleasure of talking with Carolyn Ray, who is very famously known as Aunt Hilda off Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and she's also a voice on Phineas and Ferb. I grew up watching her. She's hilarious, but also because I grew up in Canada, I also watched a lot of her Just for Laughs sets. Like I actually know her as both a comedian and a film and TV actor. So it was amazing to like sit down and like have a drink with her after her show, and you could tell she wanted to be there. Like she was just happy to chat with people. And I don't think that happens in North America as often at like Fringe festivals or things like that. Like the Edinburgh Fringe, because it's this big, amazing thing that people want to experience, it brings all sorts. Whereas I'd say a lot of the Fringes in North America are smaller. So you're not necessarily going to get a celebrity of that stature, testing out their stand-up material. So I think as someone who, a lot of my theater work, like all of my solo shows are comedic, especially all the ones that I've brought here. And so it's just nice to talk to someone about what their experiences have been. And then the other person was Rhys Darby, who people know from, obviously Flight of the Conchords is what like made him famous, but most recently, I believe one of the shows I love is Our Flag Means Death, which is just an amazing show that should not have been canceled after season 2.
But we did get enough to tie up most of the storylines.
It's true.
They brought it in for a landing. It was
They did.
rough,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we didn't have a cliffhanger. We just had a seagull.
Right? I know. But it was still so cool to just have a little chat. And I think also it reminded me that there are so many celebs out there that are just really nice, really down to earth people. They're not all the super intimidating Jennifer Lopez's of the world.
Did you get it reversed? Was there anybody that came up to you and went, "You're the famous Rebecca Perry"?
It like made my day. There was a mother and son walking in the street, I think about 2 weeks ago. And so I was just walking, with my backpack, my headphones in, just like, probably looked fairly tired. And he just sort of like tapped his mom's shoulder and went, "That's the redheaded coffee shop girl." And I was like, "Oh my God." It was so sweet. And it's happened a few more times as well. I think because, well, you don't always get a million Canadians over here, so I might stick out a little.
What would your career have been, do you think, without the Fringe?
I mean, a lot less touring of, Europe and the UK, which has been so much fun. I also think I wouldn't have made as many solo shows, and I love performing solo shows. Yeah, I love being an actor for hire in, Shakespeare in the Park or what have you. But there is a certain different challenge about being the only person on stage. So it is truly your job and your job only to entertain the audience and to have a dynamic where, they feel the pace is fast enough and, what you're saying is interesting. And so I think it's made me overall a better actor because when something is only your job, you really do have to rise to the occasion, So I think I probably would. I would still be a happy human, but I think the Fringe has taught me so much that I wasn't expecting it to teach me, which is, of course, why I keep coming back. Not only have I brought Confessions of a Redheaded Coffee Shop Girl, but the sequel, Adventures of a Redheaded Coffee Shop Girl, has been here. And then I also have my old Hollywood show about the divas of the 30s called From Judy to Betty, the stars of old Hollywood. That's been here. And I've got, a few more ideas circling around in my brain that I hope will come to fruition and I will bring here as well.
So remind us where we can see you at the Fringe this year.
Yeah, of course. So Confessions of a Redheaded Coffee Shop Girl, the 10th anniversary show, is playing at Gilded Balloons Patter House at 4 p.m. every day. It's 60 minutes long, and I can promise you jazzy tunes, life lessons, co-worker showdowns, even a little bit of romance, and me bouncing around the stage in a very caffeinated manner, playing 20 characters all in under 60 minutes.
And outside of the Fringe, where can people find more about you?
So if you follow me on Instagram at redheaded_coffeeshop_girl, that's sort of where I post the most updates. I should get better at it though. Or I've got like a Facebook page, Redheaded Coffee Shop Girl, or my website, rebeccaperry.ca. That's where I update where my solo shows are touring. And I can say with pretty much 100% assurity, UK, I will be back very soon touring around. So I look forward to seeing you.
And we will have links to the box office and your websites and socials back at our website. It's still, after 21 years, edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com. I suppose there's only one final question. You were here for the 30th anniversary. You were here for the 40th anniversary. Have you got plans for 2035?
I have no idea. But you know what? If I do find myself here, I hope we have a 20th anniversary podcast interview.
Done.
It would be pretty fun.
Rebecca, thanks again.
My pleasure.
Rebecca Perry there, Confessions of a Redheaded Coffee Shop Girl, playing Gilded Balloon Patter House 4 till 5 through until Monday here at the Fringe on the 25th. Some run to 25, some run to 24 in general. So do check listings for details, and depending on how you want to watch your last day of your Fringe if you're in Edinburgh. If you're not, well, we do always have links back out to the websites of everybody you have here. So you heard from Rebecca, it is going on tour. That's the case for many of the performances at the Fringe. And also, you've got local Fringe theatre with your own little gems and things that will grow. So go out and look for them as well if you're not in Edinburgh. Before you do that, link, like, love, share, subscribe, leave us star ratings. If you can, leave us a review in your podcast, that please do. It's great, helps everybody find it. I really should just do that as a jingle, put music to the background of that. Maybe next year. But for now, again, thanks for listening. Always very much appreciated. We've a Glastonbury and a bit more to go here in Edinburgh. But for now, ta-ra. You've been listening to the Edinburgh Fringe Show, hosted by Ewan Spence, produced by the Podcast Corner for Spence Media and Radio 6 International. Listen to more from the Fringe at edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com.